They were healthy, still dormant, exactly what I was looking for. For mushroom logs, that matters more than anything else, because once you cut it, you can't undo it. I dropped them, limbed them out, stacked the brush, and let the logs sit for a few months. Long enough to settle, but not long enough to start breaking down. These are all sugar maples. You can see it in the buds. The main reason I'm using sugar maple here is because that's what Field & Forest Products asked for in the project. This is part of the process they're testing. Once everything was ready, I set up the tools: drills, bits, plugs, and wax. From there, it's just repetition. Drilling each hole, about 3 to 4 inches apart, and staggering each row about 2 inches so it wraps around the log. Once you get into it, it's just rhythm work. It ends up looking like a diving pattern once it's finished. You have to go all the way around every side. From everything I read and been told, keeping the spacing tight and consistent matters, so the spawn can move through the log the way it's supposed to. This is part of a project I'm working on with Field & Forest Products. They've provided the spawn plugs and the plug wax for this project. It's a citizen science project looking at lion's mane on sugar maple. Standard logs are usually around 36 to 40 inches long, with diameters somewhere between 4 to 7 inches. That's what I've always used. But there was some earlier research showing longer logs, closer to 16 feet, started fruiting faster. So this time, I'm testing it again. I've got 3 logs at the standard length, and 3 logs cut to about 10 feet, the same diameter range, same species. The only difference is length. Everything else is identical, same spacing, same plugs, same wax, just to see if that actually changes anything. After drilling, it's plugging everything. Each hole gets a spawn plug, tapped in flush, then sealed over with wax. The wax keeps the moisture in and blocks out anything else from getting into the wood before the spawn takes hold. It's repetitive work, but it's also where most of the success comes from. This is where the work actually starts to disappear into the wood. Once everything was inoculated, I moved the logs into the woods. I used some old maple logs I'd cut for firewood, just to build a base to keep everything off the ground. That helps with airflow, and it keeps the log from sitting in constant moisture. I've had better results doing it this way. It also is the same spot I've used for some shiitake mushrooms before, and it's been consistent, so I stayed with what's already working. I tagged each log numbered 1 through 6, just to keep track of each log. After that, I switched over to poplar trees. These are for the oyster mushrooms. It's not part of the research, just expanding into something different. I've tried spawns from other places before and never really had any success with it. The logs just never took. I started using Field and Forest products a few years ago, and it's been consistent ever since. I'm not sponsored, it's just what worked here. One thing I noticed right away with the poplar was how much water it was holding. As soon as I started drilling, it was wet inside. A lot more than the maple. The wax didn't want to set the same way because of the moisture coming out of the woods. It's not really surprising. Poplar tends to hold water, but it definitely changes how you work with it. moved everything in with the tractor. But being spring and making a few trips back and forth, the ground started to give way pretty quickly. You can see where it started tearing up, water coming through the soil. This time of year, it doesn't take much. That's one of those things. It doesn't seem like much at first, but it adds up fast if you're not paying attention. I stacked the oyster logs in with the line main logs. I then moved some of my older shiitake logs over too. These are about 5 years old now. You can see the difference right away. The bark's starting to break down, the color's different, and they've been just through a lot of more seasons. They still produce, but just not like they did early on. The last step was covering everything, just using row cover I had left over from the high tunnel, mainly to keep the birds off and protecting the logs while the spawn is still getting established. And after that, there's not much left to do. Now it's just a waiting game, seeing which logs take first and whether the longer ones actually change anything. It's slow, but that's the part I'm interested in. While these logs are just sitting around, I've got something else that needs work. I picked up an old truck with over 200,000 miles on it. I've already gone through it, found all the issues, and started getting parts together. Next time, I start breaking it down.